YouTube and Twitch, and now on Facebook in a couple of seconds. And then right now is when I like share it. Once you hear me start talking, though, I'm recording. So just try not to talk until I talk to you. I don't really care about right now because people, this is not being recorded. It's just on live.
Awesome.
Check 1, check 2. Say something.
Check 1, check 2.
Perfect. Back in 2 seconds. Check, check, check. Hello, 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 hello. Welcome in, welcome in. Welcome in, everybody. It is Monday, January 17th, 4:45 p.m. Texas time. I always give context for the date and time for the show for various reasons, but hey, I'm so glad you're here. If you're listening right now that you missed the let me start over. If you missed the show, that means, oh my gosh, I can't talk. I apologize for that. If you're listening right now on Spotify or now on Apple Podcasts, we're now on Apple Podcasts, or if you are listening on any other podcasting platform, that means you missed the show while we were live. So make sure you check out Facebook, YouTube, or Twitch to be a part of the action while we're live, because the whole point of JJ's live show is to be a part of the show while we're live. Today, I have a very special guest for everybody, my friend for a very long time, and I'm going to call him a busy, decorated entrepreneur, just to sum it all up. Please give it up for my friend, Francisco Ortega.
Hey, what's going on, brother?
What's up, man? Thanks for doing the show. How do you feel being the second ever guest on the show?
I feel privileged and honored, bro, and excited. I'm going to be honest.
Yeah. Listen, I know I know you're busy. That's why I wanted to allow the most time as possible, just for the pure fact that I want more people. Well, honestly, it's good for me because you just have an act for being part of good content, so it benefits me, to be honest, if I'm being completely selfish. But also, you're just you're just been a good dude for a long time. You've been a friend of mine for a long time, and I feel like a lot of people could benefit from just hearing not your story, because I feel like that's too broad. We could probably spend 3 hours talking about your story, honestly. We go way back to high school, so I know or when I was in high school, at least you're older than me, so you're like 50 years old now.
Chill. Not yet.
No. How old are you, Frankie?
I'm 29, bro. I'm turning 30 in April.
Oh, man. How do you feel about that?
I did get the biggest compliment today. I went to my gym, and the gym owner's daughters were there running around on the mats, and they asked me how old I was, and I said 29. And they were like, wow, you look like you're like 16. And I was like, I'll take that, because that means I'm going to be 50 looking like I'm 30.
Yeah. Well, it's all that training you've done, all the jiu-jitsu, the Muay Thai. How long have you done? So I'm going to take it by what you said to me earlier. You just got back into Muay Thai recently?
Yeah, just back into Muay Thai and jiu-jitsu.
Yeah. If you had to choose one for forever, what would it be? If you had to choose, you could only do one.
Jiu-jitsu, bro. It's you can endure a lot more. Muay Thai, I'll be honest, I do not miss the nights where you stay up at night because it feels like you got softballs in your legs.
Yeah.
And jiu-jitsu, you still get sore, you still get beat up. Like, I mean, the side of my head is just a little
Oh my
jacked up.
gosh. Hold on. Go back to that. Go back to that for people watching. Go back to that. I'm making it bigger. I'm making it bigger. Look at this neck. Y'all see that? All right.
So you still get your little wear and tear. And then the other day I had like up here was jacked up in my eye, and my girl was like, "Oh my gosh!" But it's like it's not like Muay Thai. You can endure a lot more. You can go 100% every single day, and you can do it until you're like old in the bones. And so, I think
Yeah.
jujitsu, honestly, bro, is hands down what I would do for the rest of my life.
Yeah. I've dabbled in jujitsu and not, I guess technically it's Muay Thai, but I've dabbled in some striking, both in the military and with civilians. I will say different mindset with civilians. I also have trained with amateur fighters, I guess. They're not pro fighters, but they like actually do fighting competitions, and they do not care about their body whatsoever. And I don't train with those people. I don't spar with them. I don't train with them because I don't
They're
need
jerks.
I don't need to get a high kick to the jaw on a Tuesday afternoon. So
That's exactly why I would do jujitsu over Muay Thai for the rest of my life. For that one reason right there. Kicks to the jaw or knees to the face. They're just not that fun.
yeah. So where are you from, Frankie?
Chihuahua, Mexico.
Chihuahua,
Yes,
Mexico.
from where the dog's from.
And you have brothers and sisters, right?
Yeah, so I have one brother, my older brother, Victor Ortega. It's just me and him, and honestly, I like it that way because growing up, we got to play sports together. We're like 1 year difference, 1 year and a couple months or something, and so we got to like really grow up together. And I actually have this exercise, bro, that I do. I'm gonna send it to you. I do it every morning, and it sets me up for the day. And so I like starting off with like gratitude, but not just like, you hear all this talk about like gratitude journaling and things of that nature. Um, but no, I don't like that. I like gratitude that I can feel it down to like the core of my being,
Yeah.
right? Where it overtakes you. And so in order to get into that state, I think of memories. And one of the memories actually that I thought about today that just popped into my mind was when me and my brother were playing basketball, and we made it to the All-Star game, and we had to play against each other. And they call us out onto the middle of the court, and they give me and him like the most valuable player for the game.
Wow.
And so it was me and him in that moment, and I'll never forget because it was the last game that I knew I was ever going to play with my brother, and it was against him. And it was pretty phenomenal, such an emotional time for me, honestly. And I thought back to that moment today, and so I'm very grateful for my brother. I'm grateful that it's just me and him. Obviously, if I had more siblings, I'd be grateful to have them, but I don't. So
Yeah. And so where are your parents? And you have no sisters. Where's your parents from?
Chihuahua, Mexico. Yeah. So we're all from Chihuahua, Mexico. We came here to the United States when I was 2 and my brother was 2. And then through a long journey, I finally got my citizenship when I was like 26 years old.
And that was so 3 years ago.
Yeah.
So when we went, so funny story for everybody. You're definitely gonna want to turn it up for this story. Me and Frankie, we met in church, right? So we do this. Long story short, we do this mission trip one summer. It was the year I graduated, so in 2013, we do this mission trip. Keep in mind, you, it's 2022 right now, so Frankie is not a United States citizen at this moment. He has a Mexican passport. So we leave from America, go to Scotland, zero problem. So we go from here, we go to Glasgow, not Glasgow. We go to Heathrow Airport, and from Heathrow, then we fly on a little tiny plane to Scotland. We go all around Scotland for like 21 plus days, and then we fly back from Scotland to London, where we're supposed to fly out from London to the U.S. And we passed security. We were like waiting for the plane, and we literally are on the bridge getting onto the plane, and we're in a group. It's not just like me and him. There's a group of us of like 15 people, and out of nowhere, this dude wearing a suit comes up and snatches, not might as well have just snatched you up and kidnapped you.
Might as well have.
And so what happened with that? Like, I can remember exactly, but you basically weren't allowed to be in Scotland or in London because you had a Mexican passport or something, right? Like, it wasn't.
Well, so I wasn't allowed to fly back to the United States.
Yeah.
Which is my home.
Yeah.
And I was like, bro, what the hell are you talking about, man?
Like, listen to me talk.
I'm like, I am pretty white. I'm like a whitewashed Mexican.
Yeah,
bro.
if you were to see how he dressed back then, you would be like, yeah, he's white.
Yeah, exactly. Cardigans and everything. But no, so what happened was, because I had a Mexican passport, the only place I could fly back to was Mexico, unless I had like a visa, which for me didn't really make sense because I didn't have a visa to go over there. You know what I mean? And I don't know how all that works. I don't dabble in all that jazz. But long story short, they wanted me to fly back to Mexico. And what's wild was that, we had this lady at our church who she's like runs the finances, admin, all this stuff. Her name was Donna. God bless her soul. They told them about the situation. She's like, oh, my nephew works for Homeland Security in London.
Classic.
Like, so she makes a call. And pretty much what he did was he approved me for like the flight, but we couldn't get a flight till like the next day. So like the dude that was leading the mission trip, Pastor Benjamin Thomas, stayed there with me, and we stayed there. And the next day we go to get on the plane. I kid you not, bro. I kid you not. We were scanning our tickets. His scans, green light, go. Mine scans, red light. Again, literally.
The next day.
Stops. His heart stops. They pull me to the side again, and then they're like checking something. They're like, oh, okay, he's good to go. And so, bro, we get in that plane. I'll never forget. We were sitting there, and I was like, Ben, the Queen herself could not come and get me out of this plane right now. I will not let it happen. And then, bro, we land in the United States, and they don't want to let me leave.
The plane, the terminal or whatever.
Airport. Yeah, they didn't want to let me leave because I was flagged apparently, and I was like, I wasn't flagged, bro. I was cleared. Like, I'm good to go.
You're like, I was flagged, but now I'm good though. I swear. Ask the guy from London.
And I told him, I was like, bro, my mom is outside with my social security and my permanent residency card. I'm like, please just walk with me 5 minutes, get it, and then you'll see that I'm legit. And it took some convincing. So after like 15, 20 minutes of talking to them, they did that, and I got out. I got out of jail.
Yeah. That kind of proves that, one, it's not only who you know, it's not what you know, it's who you know. And then two, you got to be able to, sell by conversation, kind of. That's kind, you had to sell that person to come with you. Which brings me to one thing I wanted to talk to you about around here. I was trying to figure out how to not label you, but I guess like put labels on what you do. And then I looked up your TikTok. I don't have TikTok. I'm not on TikTok. But your TikTok's name handle is Frank_encourages. And I think that's pretty spot on. If you were to label yourself as like what you do, you're in the business of encouragement. And for me, that encouraging to me, like what you do, doesn't come natural to me. I'm a little bit more, I demand things out of you. You know what I'm saying? That's how I roll.
Yeah.
Like, you are going to do better. But you're like, you can do better, and then you will. But I'm just like, no, you have to. And I think both are needed. However,
yes.
It's crazy because to be honest, I'm going to be completely real for people listening and people, and to Frank. I really dislike certain testimonies of people or stories of people or whatever, of people that like they went through hard times and then they are out of it, and then they act hard to like portray that they went through hard times. I don't know how to explain it. We know what I'm talking about. And
Mhm.
it makes everybody feel that what they went through is kind of inadequate. But however, you've been through a lot of things. You've been through divorce. You've been through being first generation American. You've been through I mean, even just having your child, like something that a lot of people is,
Yeah.
I mean, having your child was a blessing, but the whole process of that for you, having your daughter Tatiana, right? That's her name. I didn't mess it up.
Yeah.
uh,
No, it's not together.
I only ever hear you call her Tati, so I don't want to mess it up. Just all of that was just pretty difficult. Like it was like every little thing was just made difficult for you. But yet you have a very positive outlook on life. And what's interesting is another side note for everybody, just to get an idea of how Frankie is. I was in the military, and so I'd probably come home once a year. Every year, Frankie had not only had an idea for a new business, but probably started a new business every year. And at least, I wouldn't say was super successful, but was at least made it livable in everything he's done. At one point, you owned a trucking business, right? Um, you're now on 2 different online kind of ventures. You're a divorce coach now, which I've never heard of before. You're the first time I've ever hearing of a divorce coach. What's the name of that
Yeah.
again? The divorce coaching?
Yeah. So it's a 1% divorce recovery coaching.
Yeah, 1% divorce recovery coaching. And then you're also kind of mini viral on TikTok or mini famous on TikTok. How many followers do you have on TikTok now?
Yeah. So the handle you put, that's my personal one
Mm-hmm.
for TikTok that I haven't really used in a long time. My business one is Divorced Coach. And I have 89.8 thousand followers on there right now.
Yeah, which I was putting the numbers in perspective on my last guess about how popularity. So 89,000 in the grand scheme of things isn't that many, right? But for someone who just started it for the first ever groundbreaking business, that's a lot of people. And that's enough to maybe in itself doesn't generate income, but it can be income generating and, business promoting to whatever other business, because you have 89,000 followers and that are pretty engaged that, you use that to help fuel your other ventures, right?
Yeah.
But what's crazy to me, and I think everybody should at least go check out your personal Instagram or your TikTok or your whatever Instagrams. They should really watch your content and then realize that you are encouraging in a way that's like happy. You know what I'm saying? Like it's not like this. You went through hard times, but you're not calloused because of it. So talk a little bit about like, is that hard for you to be like encouraging where you're not like hard? You know what I'm saying? Is that hard for you?
Bro, it used to be. It used to be until I went through a lot of garbage. And what I like about going through hard stuff in life is that it makes you tough, but it makes you soft at the same time.
Yeah.
And I'll kind of elaborate on that. Okay. And so, for example, let's just take the scenario of, training in a fight gym, right? Because like I've done that for quite a bit and it's left a huge mark on my life and my body. But so you go into the gym, you start training, right? And the more you get hit, the more you get not used to getting hit like callous, but it becomes your new normal, right? And then you see somebody new come into the gym and you see them struggle and you can't just tell them like, bro, buff up. You know what I mean? Like it's just not going to happen. You actually see yourself in that person. You're like, dude, I remember what it was like to come in and be the hammer or be the nail, not the hammer, right? And now I know what it's like to be the hammer and the nail. And so I've seen that in my life, right? Back in the day, I was all about leadership. Like you got to pull people, pull them, push, push, push. And so that's what I would do. And I mean, you burn people out, right? And people respond better to praise than they do to criticism. It's actually scientifically proven. And so, really, honestly, the way that I encourage people now is I imagine that I'm talking to myself 3 years ago when I was going through the hardest time I've ever gone through, which was the divorce, right? So I envision myself talking to myself. And I'm like, how would I have liked for somebody to talk to me? For someone to like reach out? what content would have really lifted up my spirits? You know what I'm saying? And as soon as I identified that, it came really easy because I was just talking to me.
Yeah.
And so for example, and we all respond different. We all need different, right? I'm a coach. I'm not a therapist and I'm not a counselor. So one of my clients is watching right now, Don Yogi Bear. That's one of my 1% men. The dude is incredible. He's insane.
Welcome in,
Right.
Don.
And yeah, and so I have clients that they're going through hard times, right? And I'm empathetic and I listen to them, right? And then there's other moments where I have to be stern and I have to be like, hey, what are you doing? You're creating this. You're creating your own suffering and there's no reason for it, right? And then as soon as it's like you have to have, and you know when to be able to give it and then when to be able to empathize, right? And you got to have a perfect marriage of both. It's like the gospel. If you're just all truth and no grace, it's not effective. But if you're grace and truth and you marry them together, it's powerful. And so, like, for me, it wasn't always natural. And I've received both. First off, from my dad, just that macho man syndrome. Like, I've just been working on 18-wheelers since I was like 6 years old, and you can't find one piece of tool and he, boom, grabs you by the head and feels like your brain's going to explode and your eyes are going to pop out of your head, like that type. And then I've also had the latter. And so now just finding like the perfect marriage of both, it's just something that kind of life brought me through it like that, I guess. I don't know. So yeah, now it's very natural for me now, bro, honestly.
Yeah. So one thing I wrote, so for everybody listening or watching, I don't script the show ever. Part of the reason why is, for one, the audience guides the show. If you were here for my last guest, can somebody kick that YouTube chat person who just chatted out, please? And then report that one. And then one reason is the viewers. Show is generated towards the viewers, right? So I feel like people need to hear Frankie. Or when I've done 40 plus episodes, and all but this one and the one before were all completely by myself. And I talk about whatever I want to talk about. And sometimes my brain, whether it's the brain injuries or because I'm half retarded, it goes anywhere and everywhere, right? But I feel that where was I going with this? Oh, when I was writing out the description for the live portion, the description for the aired the posted podcast will be a little different. I didn't really know what to put, and the description. Let's see if I can't find it. Real quick, I'll just move on. I kind of forgot where I was going with this, to be honest. For the description, I wrote something on the lines of turned some of your hardest times into some of your biggest successes. You turned some of your hardest times into biggest successes, and you mentioned a second ago your divorce. You divorced, or you and your ex-wife got divorced. Like, that's why she's your ex. You guys have a kid together, and it was overall just hard. I remember you talking about it. I remember I was driving to Texas actually, and we were on the phone. And it was before y'all actually got divorced, but y'all were kind of near the end, and it was rough for you. I remember you just, like anybody going through a breakup, confused or whatever. But then fast forward 3 years, and now you have a business, not only is looking like it's going to be kind of successful. It's the first of its kind that I'm aware of, at least the way you're doing it, because it's divorce coaching. Everybody wants coaching on marriage. Everybody wants coaching on sports. Everybody wants coaching on something that they are going to be great at, right?
Yeah.
But you're literally, to be honest, if I'm going to be real with it, you're making a coaching, scheme or coaching strategy about something you failed at. Something that went horribly wrong in one reason or another. And whether it's their fault or not, or whether it's your fault or not. You turned something that was everybody's failure. Nobody went through divorce and been like, yeah, that was a success. Because even if it was that person to being crazy, you still at one point were married to a crazy person. So the divorce
and you chose them.
Yeah, you chose them, right? So you turn you're turning yours and other people's essentially failure. I know you probably don't like to say that, but it is what it is, into a success not only for you, but you're turning these other. I have seen the written testimonies of people being successful in those trials, And just talk about the transition of like, I don't even know if you can, of like you got divorced, struggled with it, then help somebody, and then business. You know what I'm saying? Go.
Yeah.
Put you on the spot.
So obviously it was extremely difficult. Like, they say that divorce is the closest you can come as a human being to experiencing death. It's the most painful thing besides death that a human can experience. And then now you fast forward and you recognize that 80% of divorces are initiated by women and 50% of marriages end in divorce. So those are pretty high numbers. And then you look at even scarier numbers. Men who have gone through divorce are 6 times more likely to commit suicide than any other men, which is insane, right? And so I went through my stuff. I was honestly pretty darn suicidal. I can't tell you how many times, bro. I think it was like 6 different times where I was like this, like just on the edge, right? About just honestly just ending my life. And I reached out for help and I got help. And then like I got better, and I got better fast through like some specific things that I was doing. And I started looking at people that are in my world that have experienced divorce. And fast forward 2 to 7 years and they're still not healed. They're still going into relationships where their guard completely up. They still think all women are the same. They still think all men are the same, which that's the number one indicator that shows you that a person is not yet healthy. And so I started to feel like, dude, like I want to help people, right? And I've always had that in me, that I just want to help people. And then a buddy comes up to me and he says, hey, man, have you ever thought about coaching like divorced men, like divorced single dads? And I was like, honestly, never thought about it. And he was like, bro, you're incredible at it. You're doing it already. You're just doing it like and labeling it as ministry. He was like, so why don't you do that? And it's going to separate the people that don't care from the people that do care, because people that are actually willing to go all in will invest into it money wise. Everybody says they're all in. You're not all in until you're in monetarily also. Once you've invested money, then you're all in. If not, you're about 90% in. So that's why in the Bible it talks about tithe. It's not that God wants our money, is he knows that as soon as we tithe, now he has our emotional stuff, our mental stuff, our spiritual stuff, relational stuff, and our finances. And so now we're all in, right? And so I thought about that and I was like, huh. And even then, I still tried helping people out for free. Some people would listen, some people would not listen. The people who didn't listen to me ended up getting terrible results. The people who listened to me, oh my God, bro, like their lives were transformed in 90 days or less, right? And it's just them doing the work. And so,
and it's all
then at
stemmed
that
from
point,
what you went through and then did.
exactly. It's experience. I have some jerks that come onto my social media and they're like, "Oh, what are your qualifications?" Bro, I'm to the point where when I comment on those, I don't give them the time of day. All I say is my client's results. Go to my highlights, right? And it's just like, like, and it's not just like texts that are written, because anybody can fake those. This is like pure video, audio, right? Of another human talking to me, telling me, man, this, thank you for this and this and that. And I feel, and I capture all of that raw in calls. And so for me, I'm like, dude, like I went through something. And so I want to help people get through it faster, is really all it is. And so I just took that leap of faith, brother. Honestly, it started off with a TikTok video. And it led to another TikTok video. I think my first TikTok video that I posted about it got like 88,000 views or something. And I posted another one, then another one, then another one. I was like 3 TikTok videos in before my calendar got packed for the next 2 weeks, right? And I was like, holy smokes, what is happening here? But it was a beautiful like melody between like what I'm passionate about and having discontentment for people, right? A lot of us are discontent with where we're at. I have a huge discontentment for where people are at, because I don't want them to stay there, because there's so much more. There really is. And when you're out of it, you realize it, right? And so now I have clients that like they're out of it and they're still staying, bro. Like I have clients that signed up from the very beginning when I launched the business. And some people would think, well, maybe they're not completely over the divorce now. No, trust me, they're over and they're out dating and they're making moves and they're building a life. but they just want to keep working with me through anything in their life at this point, right? Which is pretty wild to think about. And so I got this melody, this perfect, beautiful melody, bro, of like, I'm passionate about helping people and I'm discontent for them. I want more for them. And honestly, that's how I started. Now you fast forward 6, 7 months later, I have a full-time income. Honestly, like I'm this year, like things keep going the way that they're going. I'm going to make 6 figures this year, and it's not about the money at all, at all. It just means I'm helping a lot of people. And that's, to me, I told my buddy the other day, I said, bro, I can't tell you the last time I checked my bank account or the payments that were like coming in, right? And how much I was going to make that week. I'm like, because once you start doing something that fulfills you, the bank, you don't check the bank account. That doesn't even matter. And the money has naturally just came in. And so it's like, I don't know, brother. It's been pretty crazy just to see that when you love something and you're passionate about it and it's fueled with a solution for people, like, you can do anything. You can turn anything around. And so that's what I teach my clients. It's a for you mindset.
Yeah.
Life is happening for you, not to you. Like the Bible says it very clearly. God will work all things for the good of those who love him. All things. God doesn't label good things or bad things because there is no good thing or bad thing. And I know that sounds insensitive, but they're all neutral. It's not good or bad until you slap the label on it. And so people could say my divorce was a bad thing, but all my clients now would probably more than likely say his divorce was a great thing, because if it wasn't for that, he wouldn't have helped me. And some people that I've worked with, borderline suicidal, bro, when they come work with me, by the time they leave, they're not suicidal because they've designed and created and were intentional about creating a life that they wanted to create, not being delusional, thinking they can change their circumstance, but choosing to see that circumstance in a different perspective so they can experience it in the way that they want to experience it. Does that make sense?
Totally makes sense. That was a lot. In a good way. That was a lot. Don from the Facebook chat said about 2 weeks. I guess this is one of your clients that we were talking about earlier.
Yeah.
Don said about 2 weeks ago, I was having a hard time with my divorce. After talking to Coach Frank, we decided to need a one-on-one session to work through my stuff. And I'm assuming that means you're doing better now, Don. I
Yeah, bro.
thought that was going to keep going.
Yeah, he had a massive turnaround, and like it was just wild because like he's a great example of what can be done, because I mean, the man was in insane pain. I mean, bro, like, Don, I hope you don't mind this. I'm going to tell a little bit about your story, but the man was in a terrible accident and then gets served papers in the middle of all of it. Dude can't walk, can't leave the house, can't go get fresh air, nothing, bro. Nothing. And so talk about the worst situation ever, where you cannot move. You're in the middle of the person that you thought was going to be there for the rest of your life, helping you, supporting you, like dipping on you. And we have a one-on-one, and all I do is I work some stuff through with him. That's it, on how to end the suffering. And I taught him, I was like, man, what you focus on, you're going to create more of. And so what are you choosing to focus on? Because focus is a choice.
Yeah.
Right? And
sure.
As soon as he started shifting his focus, I'm not saying that he's perfect, and he won't say that either, but he's experiencing what I call pockets of pain and not long-term suffering. We'll all experience pockets of pain. That's part of the grieving process, right?
Yeah.
But you can grieve and hurt and be happy and fulfilled at the same time. And that's what he's experiencing right now. It's pretty wild.
Yeah. So he edited his message. So Don continued to go on to say, this is for everybody listening right now, and you're not reading the comments live because you're not watching live. So just a reminder, make sure you catch the show when we're live at JJ's live show on Facebook, YouTube, or Twitch. Frank, after we decided we need one-on-one stuff, I told Coach Frank I didn't have any money to do it. His response was, so Frank said, who said anything about money? This speaks volumes about this man's passion for helping other men. It's not about the money for Coach. And soon to be coaching women, I assume, as well. I would imagine you were going to at least set up some sort of co-ed thing. And response to Don, by the way, if you are commenting right now, and we got some people watching on either YouTube or Twitch, I only say what's on your screen name. So if you would like to not your messages to be read out, because this is a little bit of a personal topic, then don't comment it, because this is going to be this is being recorded, and it goes on podcasts on Spotify, on Apple Podcast. We are now on Apple Podcast as of yesterday or 2 days ago, and on pretty much every major platform for podcasting. Make sure you tell your friends. Make sure you share, rate 5 stars, all that kind of stuff. But on to that last little bit, it's not about money for Coach. I sort of hate the idea that people have that they hate it when people get successful at something, even if they're doing good, even if they're doing good things, right? So even if you were to start making 6, 7, 8 figures, right? You turn this into a multi-million-dollar thing, which I hope you do. I hope you, the Bible doesn't say be poor. The Bible says be fruitful, multiply, and that includes prosperity. You can't be fruitful, multiply if you're broke. Ask everybody in Mexico and Africa, okay? Okay. So
unless we're talking about making babies, then you can be poor and make all the babies you want. So be fruitful that way.
Well, it takes money in America to do that. But the thing is that I don't see anything wrong as long as you're being honest with it, and as long as you are seeing legitimate results. The results speak for themselves, and in this specific type of area, the prosperity or the monetary prosperity comes from you genuinely helping people. And I think that should be your reward in one way or another. But 2, it is a lot of work for you. And so for everybody listening, it isn't, or everybody watching or whatever, it isn't about the money if you're helping people necessarily, but it can be it's not can be. Why, if he's able to make an income on this, that means he can devote more time to helping people, and he doesn't have to have another job. I remember when when Frank was first starting this, you had to work other jobs that you didn't particularly love, which sort of erodes when you do the things you love. It sort of erodes the quality that you get. So now, because you're doing this full time, not only are you helping more people, but the quality of help that those people are getting is significantly higher. And I hate this mindset we get when, you know what's funny is that like people hate bands when they make it. All the small first fans,
they sold out.
They sold out, bro. Like, you should be happy for them. You supported them, and you were one of their first fans. If you were going to see people, when they were playing out in Dallas and Little Elm or whatever, and there was 20 people, like Jet Troublefield, for example. Dude, now Jet's doing last I checked, Jet Troublefield, our friend Jet Troublefield, I think he's on Spotify or something. Check him out. I haven't talked to him in a very long time, but he just came into my head. I remember going to go see him in I came back from boot camp leave. I was home for a week after boot camp, and I went to see him at a show in Little Elm. There was like 12 people there. And he performed like there was hundreds of people, to be fair. And he was just figuring it out. And now last I checked, he was living in California, making a living doing stuff with music. And I think it's funny that there's so many people that'd be first in line to crap on those people and just be like, F you, dude, you sold out, like you said. And yeah, dude, I don't care if you get rich doing this. I want you to get rich doing this. Because to me, that means that people don't look at the bigger picture of it. People don't look at, if you're making, let's say if you do make millions off this. I'm just using you as an example. This could be for anybody that's making money helping people. That means in order to get that point, you've had not only successful business, as long as you're not scamming people, which that does exist. That means there's also an infrastructure in there to where you're not necessarily the one coaching every individual, but you have given people the tools, and maybe some of your previous clients who are now your successors, now they are coaching people. And it's the same template. They're getting it, and now they're getting it to where, so now instead of you coaching 40 people, you might be coaching 10 people to coach 400 people, which again, like I said, is that like the principle of building something up if you do it correctly. In order to, people think that like sometimes people on the internet making content like you do for TikTok or whatever, they just happens. Like they start a business, they sell more products, and then they make money. No, in order to scale, that's the whole issue of scaling, or the whole issue of turning a $100,000 business into $1 million business is scaling successfully. That's the hard part. That's why all those people on Shark Tank, 50% of those people on Shark Tank have a viable business.
Yeah.
And by the way, those people on Shark Tank are legit. I've listened to some
Yeah.
podcasts about the behind the scenes stuff. It's wild. If you guys have never watched Shark Tank, you should. And for those who don't,
Amazing.
they're actually doing those pitches, and those pictures actually can last anywhere from 2, 3, sometimes 4 hours, and they only take out 5
Mhm.
minutes of it. So you're not seeing a lot of the stuff that they actually go through. But
Yeah.
I hope that you do, like I said, make millions, because that means you're helping people, right?
Exactly. And this is how I view it, okay? First of all, let me put this into perspective, okay? You go to therapy, okay? You download BetterHelp or whatever that app is. You're paying a minimum of like $289 a month. Now, I will never say that I am better than counseling or therapy, okay? Those words will not come out of my mouth on my own. They've come out of almost every single one of my clients' mouths, though.
Hmm.
And so I post them saying it. They're like, I worked with 3 to 4 different therapists. Nothing's been as helpful as this. Hey, I've gotten more out of 30 minutes with you than I have for 6 months in therapy, right? Which really pisses me off because I'm like, what are these people doing then? Like, you're not helping people. I literally had a lady say, like, I love that you tell me how it is and you're not scared for me to like not want to do business with you. And I'm like, of course not, because I have to tell you the truth. If I don't tell you the truth, then you'll get nothing out of this. You'll just remain the same. And she was like, my therapist, I feel like they tell me what I want to hear so that I don't like leave to another therapist. And I'm like, that's fear. Anytime you operate out of fear, it's like the opposite of an abundance mindset, which means you experience the opposite. I have an abundance mindset. I know that there's people that are going to want to work with me and only me. I know that God's going to bring them in, which means I can fully be myself and coach the way that I feel is more genuine and authentic to my own being without scaring people away. It's the for you mindset. Everything in life is happening for me. This client didn't sign, potential client, that's perfect. That means there's somebody else for me. You see what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
And so put that into perspective. $289 for something that is helping a lot of people. Let's just put it that way, right? I've actually offer it now for $175 for the month for the group coaching, right? And it's still effective. You still get a lot of stuff out of it. They get all of my assignments, all of my homework. They get to coaching via text. Like I'm there for people. It's not just like, hey, I'm only going to show up for the meeting. No, I show up as much as I possibly can. And do I have my high ticket clients that work with me one on one? Absolutely, I do. Absolutely, I do. And they're high ticket clients for a reason because they require more of my time, right? And this is where it gets tricky. Like, I need to be available for them. So, in order for me to be available for them, I need to have time. And if I'm not making money for it, like with them, then I have to go work something else, which then means I can't show up my best for them. So it's all full circle. Not only that, but my high ticket clients, they give me the ability to do what I did for Don. Hey, bro, you're really struggling right now. We've been working together for like a month now, and I feel like there should be some more progress. Let's hop on a one-on-one. Man, I don't have cash. Don't worry about it. I didn't say anything about money. I said let's hop on a one-on-one and let's talk
Yeah.
and let's figure this out. Let's work this thing out. You see what I'm saying? So when people get all like, oh, you're just making money off of people, I'm not making money off of people. I'm making money for people. Because if I'm making more money, it means that I'm helping more people, and it means that I can in the future help way more people. I have an app, bro, that's going to launch this year. It's the divorce recovery app where people are going to be able to walk step by step through the process of healing from this divorce for only $24.96 a month, bro.
Hmm.
They'll be able to do that. Guess what? My goal this year is to help 2,000 people through my app. That would be what? Let's just say $50,000 passive income, right?
Hmm.
I cannot make $50,000 passive income unless I help 2,000 people a month.
Yeah.
Which means I need to help people to bring in cash flow. And
Yeah.
then I need to bring in cash flow so I can help more people. So people that are always judging about this stuff, like they just have a terrible mindset. You know what I mean? And it's never about the money. If it's about the money, you're gonna fail.
Yeah.
Like literally 90% of businesses that start off about making money, they fail. They fail. And so why would you go into something like just for money? You're going to burn out.
Yeah.
It's not going to be fun. It's like with me with the trucking company. I was making well over $200,000 a year. I burned out on it, bro. I didn't like it. because I was doing it for money.
Yeah.
Hauling to houses and dumping loads. Like, come on, man. I was made for more than that.
Yeah.
Like, I don't need the cash flow. I was way more happy making $2,500 a month on my divorce coaching business than I ever was making 10K plus in the trucking company. And so money has nothing to do with it. And as soon as somebody gets fixated on that, you're just looking for evidence to try and talk yourself out of whatever it is that you're wanting to do. And so it's never about the money, bro.
Yeah. Quick question. I just did some research. Do you know how many people get divorced a year, or how many divorces happen in America in a year?
No, bro, but I know it's a ton, bro.
If you had to ballpark, how many divorces? Okay, let's be like this: there's 330 million Americans. How many divorces happen on average a year?
I'm gonna throw out like 25K.
That's it?
I mean, I don't know, bro.
Okay, so there's 876,000 divorces a year. That's one. Doing some math on the top of my head, I think that's about one divorce every 36 seconds, and 2,400 divorces a day, almost 20K divorces a week. So it's wild. You really have a small market share. You have a small share. You have a lot more room to go, bro. I mean, it's one of those things where it's like you don't want to get people to get divorced, but they're going to. And
yeah,
that's sort of like my stance on the whole drug legalization. Is that I don't want people to do cocaine or do heroin, but they're going to. So this whole war on drugs that we've been doing since what was it, 74, I think, and we've spent trillions of dollars with a T, trillions of dollars in the span of about 40 years on the drug work, and it's gotten worse. So obviously we're not doing something right. And part of me thinks it's a little bit of a scam to farm money, whatever.
No, but I want to hit on this, okay, brother? Because like my goal is to help people obviously recover from divorce, because to me that's saving a life. And more than saving a life, it's saving a legacy. Bottom line, because if you do not heal through this process, it will bleed over onto your kids. That's generational strongholds. We all know about that stuff.
Yeah.
If you don't deal with it, your kid's going to have to deal with it. And so I tell most of my clients, whenever it comes up, I tell them this. I'm like, look, I care about you deeply. I care more about your kids, though. And I care more about your kids' kids. I care more about the name that you leave behind at the end of the day. And also, like, the next step is obviously I want to help people avoid divorce. You know what I'm saying? Like,
on their next marriage.
Yeah, I have about 4 clients that I'm working with right now that I'm working with them specifically to help them save their marriage. And I've helped 2 other people do it. They did it successfully. And so I'm going to help more people do it. Even though I wasn't able to do it, I found that I'm actually helping people be able to do it, right? Which is pretty wild to think about. And so once that happens, guess what I get to launch? A Save Your Marriage program.
Yeah.
Like, don't get divorced. Like, let's go through this first. If this doesn't work, conquer it, right? And then make the decision that you want to make. I'm not here to tell people don't do this and do that. It's not what I do. I'm not a dictator, right? I see what it is that they want, and then I help them get there. And so some people come, they're like, I don't want my marriage to end, whatever. And you have to, like, I have to hear how the other person is acting as well, because I'm like, that's pretty, like, bro, like, you've got to be realistic at some point. You know what I'm saying? But that's the goal. And also, like, I want to eventually launch a dating app for people that have gone through like divorce recovery coaching specifically. So you separate the people that have done the work and cared enough to invest into doing the work from the people on Tinder. And then it's like, these people are getting monthly relationship coaching because they care that intimately and that passionately about it. And these people are just like, well, let's see what's out there. I don't need these people meeting with these people. That's not good. That's not going to end up good. I need these people meeting with these people. And so I feel like that's going to be another great solution that, eventually I'll be able to offer. But yeah, bro, like, it sucks, man. Divorce sucks, but like the drugs things, like, we can't stop it. So I might as well help people not end their lives because of it. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. It's basically, you're kind of taking a different approach to it, right? There I
Mhm.
don't know if there's ever been a divorce coaching. I've always say you're the first one. It's good for your business, and it makes me seem cool that I know the first person who does it. Right? I'll just I'll just live vicariously through you. I don't think I've ever been the first to do anything, except I think I might be the first one ever to stream a podcast strictly through Streamlabs OBS. So Streamlabs OBS, if you're listening, give me a sponsorship, okay? But I think that okay, so I think it's good that you're doing something that you're passionate, right? What do you think fuels that passion? Do you think that you do this because you're passionate about yourself and your success in your next marriage? Or do you think, I mean, that can be part of it? Or do you think that because you're passionate not just about this, if we had more time, we could talk about other things. You're passionate about people. This is
Mhm.
just a topic. By the way, rewind before I forget. If you are someone who looks at somebody's potential over their production, i.e., if you look at their degrees rather than what they've actually already done, please never listen to my podcast. Don't listen. I'm not your guy. Okay.
Yeah.
I'm anti college, even though I'm in college. I'm anti people looking at degrees and certs rather than what you can do. So if that is you, please leave the show and never come back. And you're probably not a good leader, and you probably have not a great thriving business, and you're probably a poor team manager. Okay. So, because that means you also can't identify skill, and you can't identify how to structure a team, which is 95% successful. Like, look at the Cowboys yesterday. We have the best roster. I don't want to talk about this because I'm going to start throwing my equipment around. We have the best roster on defense, and we have the top 3 roster on offense when it comes to. We have the 2 highest paid players, i.e., running back and quarterback, that has ever played the game, and we lose a game with 15 penalties in the playoffs against a team we should have beat by 30. Not really 30, but
Yeah.
it should have been a double-digit win. That goes on coaching. You might say, well,
Yeah.
Gregory, number 94, had 3 offsides penalties, and we had these kind of. This guy had 2 penalties, but that's coaching, right?
Yeah.
So if you are someone that looks at potential rather than production, please leave. Anyways, rewinding. Your passion. You have a passion for people. Do you think, was there a specific time that you can point to in your life that was like, okay, I am helping people, period? Or like, was there a specific time when it was like, you know what, I'm going to devote my life to helping people? And because you didn't, from what I recall, you didn't just like wake up and decide, like within I've known you, that you want to help people. You have always kind of been, without maybe even realizing it, geared towards making other people happy or helping other people, or at least like gassing people up. You know what I'm saying? So is there like a specific moment you can realize growing? Like, is there something that basically every time you think about helping people, is there like a thought in your past about you? Does it make sense? Does it make sense what I'm asking? Like, is there a thought that you think of like,
Mhm.
oh, this was my turning point, or this is what keeps me going? Or is there like something like that you can contribute your passion to? Does that make sense?
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I think there is, brother. Um, from what I can remember is I remember when I first received like Jesus.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember that experience at YFN. I think
And
it was at
for
YFN,
real quick, for
honestly.
people who don't know what that means, let me just clarify, because we do have people who are not Christians that listen to the show. He's referring to a term where you basically accept Jesus as your Lord and Savior, which is found in John 3:16. It's the basis of being a Christian. It means you're
Mhm.
basically, the day you become a Christian is the day you accept Jesus, or what he said, receive Jesus. Just to clarify for
Yeah.
some people.
No, yeah, thank you for that, brother. But honestly, I think it was when I received Jesus because I remember feeling different, feeling lighter, feeling peace, feeling joy, right? And it was like any moment that I would go into like church services or whenever I would have like a specific prayer time and I felt that, I just remember being like, man, I want to help people feel that. I just remember that always being a thought in my head because like bro, my parents will testify this. Like when I was 18, I had like a card from like the US Olympic team to go play with them in Puerto Rico so that I could potentially play with them, right?
Baseball.
And I, yeah, baseball. And so I was like, my parents were super excited about it because all I ever wanted to do was to like be a professional athlete. And I just told them, I was like, I don't want to do that. I want to do ministry. Like that's what I want to do. And like the next year is when I did the internship at our church, right? And I just remember thinking, like, ever since then, I wanted to help people. That's why I started a TikTok called Frank Encourages. Because I was like, dude, I just like, man, people need something. Like, and so it's always been attributed to that. And then now it's just I funneled it to the hardest time in my life, right? Because I know what that's like. And I know the potential like harm that it can cause a human if not dealt with correctly. And there is a correct way to do it. So everyone's like, oh, everyone copes differently. I have a whole thing on coping, bro. It's like, you want to go cope by getting drunk? I'm like, just think about it this way. Imagine you see your kid, and let's say he's like in his 20s, and you see him coping with a bottle. Are you going to be like, well, at least he's coping? No,
Yeah.
no. Or, man, at least he's coping with cocaine. You know what I mean? Or at least he's coping by sleeping around with everyone that he sees. Like, you're not going to be like, I'm just happy he's coping. You're going to be like, no, son, you're better than this. Come on. Right. And so I've always wanted to help people. And now it's just really tailored to like the hardest time in my life. And I don't know, man, it's working. Like, I'm pretty damn good about what I do. Like, the results speak for themselves. Right. And the results are the people that I help. Like, and I love doing it. I wake up every day, like, excited to help people, and I go to sleep sometimes with my clients on my mind. You know what I mean? Like, literally, I pray for my clients, bro. I travail for them. Like, I intercede for them. And then when I show up with them, like, I give them every bit of me. Even if I'm exhausted, I'm like, dude, no, they don't deserve a tired coach right now.
Mm-hmm.
They deserve someone who's going to give them their best, give them their all in this specific moment. And then after the call, boom, I can be as tired as I want. I can be as moody
Yeah.
as I want. I can be whatever. But when I'm with them, like, I'm showing up.
Yeah. Again, it's like I want to respond to so many things you said because you have a lot of because you have a lot of passion. You've gained a lot of wisdom. You've gained a lot of knowledge, and I think knowledge and wisdom are two pretty good distinctions, in my opinion. I could be wrong. I'm not a freaking grammar major or whatever you want to call it. I'm not a scientologist. Okay,
Bro, this is what I tell people about that. Okay, because and I'll be honest, because Don said that I could when he said, please do use him as an example, right? Don, that dude, packed with knowledge now, packed. I mean, that dude's looked at all my assignments, all my workshops, watched them on repeat, got notebook after notebook after notebook after notebook. But the problem was he was not applying.
Yeah.
He's not applying. And so when we learn something and we take action, transformation happens. When we learn something and we hoard it, good for you. You got knowledge, but you don't even know if it works yet. And once you test it and you see that it works, that's when the passion comes.
Yeah.
That's when you're like, oh, hell. Hey, guess what, bro? If you do this, this, and this will happen. It is a guarantee. And you get passionate about it. This is why, bro. This is why I get so passionate about people who don't want to spread the gospel because they're insecure to talk to people. Like, I'm like, let's just be honest then. You have not tasted and seen that the Lord is good, because if you did, you would be passionate about telling people. You would say, bro, trust me. I know you're struggling with this, but if you do X, Y, Z, Jesus word, pray, I promise you, you will get this result. There's no ifs, there's no doubt about it. But we're so filled with knowledge that we never let it lead to like actual results and transformation, which is what actually makes you wise.
Yeah, and I think you calling yourself Coach Frank, you probably do this for a reason, is pretty significant because for two things. One, coaches are people who have been at one point or have the ability to be successful in their field that they coach. Coaches have to be able to teach, have to be able to interact, and they have to be able to communicate. Those are three very distinct, different skills. And coaches, the unique thing about coaches rather than counselors or rather than people like friends giving advice, they might talk to you different because they want the results. why do they want the results is because they are coaching you for a reason. I just transferred to a college football team, a different college football team. I'm at West Texas A&M. I just came from Saddleback College. I expect to be coached harder here than I was at Saddleback because this is a higher level of football. And they not only need me to perform better, I'm here because they see something in me and they want to bring out that potential. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
And
Oh yeah.
I feel that a lot of people we're entering a generation that's uncoachable. We see it in sports, we see it on the sidelines, we see it in life. And I'm not going to sit here and be perfect. I work at being coachable. It is something that I've always worked at. It is something that I've have been like prided myself on as an athlete, right? Is be coachable. But it's something I still, just because you're good at something doesn't mean you never work at it, right? So it's something I focus on for myself. But I just want to ask a couple of questions about you growing up. It might not have nothing to do with your coaching, because I think it helps shape. We are who we are now. We're in the business we are now. We lead the way we do now because of how we were shaped when we were younger, whether we've had to break that mold or we've used that mold, right? For me, I kind of had to, I used the mold because I broke the mold, right? For me growing up. But for you, was it like hard to have parents who were immigrants? Was it hard to be like, you were new to the school, probably, or maybe not new to school, but you definitely, not everybody else's parents only spoke Spanish. I've interacted with your parents a handful of times. Their English is better now than they used to be, but there was a time when they spoke zero English, pretty much, right? Mm-hmm. Do you think that was difficult, or do you remember it being difficult? Like because I would imagine you and your brother would have to translate for your parents, right?
Yeah. So it was difficult for that reason. And if I'm being honest, till this day, it's something that, me and my brother live with. Just the simple fact that, my mom gets pulled over and she has to phone me to talk with the police officer. And then the police officer is being an asshole. And I have to tell him that, hey, bro, what's your deal, man? Like, come on now. I mean, hey, come to my gym, sign a waiver. Let's talk about it. Just I've beat up plenty of cops in my day with a waiver. Yeah. But I'm just like things like that. You know what I'm saying? And because as a kid, honestly, you just don't know any different. You think everyone's life is your life. You think everyone's living what you're living. And so I never saw it like that different. But then growing up, like I realized like I have people complaining about stuff, and I'm like, dude, like you could be doing a lot more. I'm just saying, like, Yeah. And so till this day, it adds a little extra umph into it. But if I'm being honest, I can look at it as like you guys are burdening me, or I can look at it as you guys made a pretty massive sacrifice to leave everything you knew for a chance.
Yeah.
Right? Not a guarantee, for a chance. It reminds me of Jesus dying on the cross for a chance that we would accept him, right? Yeah. And I'm like, you guys did that. My dad worked in Applebee's and McDonald's literally from like 5 a.m, starting at McDonald's. I think he got out at like 3 p.m, went into Applebee's from 5 p.m. until like 2 a.m, and did that for I don't know how long, until he was able to like save up money to be able to buy an 18-wheeler and then start his business, right? And he's done more than a lot of people that were born here, bro. Like, yeah. It's wild. And so it was different, but I like different.
Yeah, it's kind of, it's not the cards you were dealt, it's how you play them, right? And I imagine you ran into this a lot, where people probably treated your parents as if they were stupid because they didn't speak English. I see this all the time. And
yeah, I saw that a couple times, honestly, bro.
Yeah.
And it like really gets me going, man. When someone makes some ignorant joke or ignorant jab, I've seen it a couple times. I've almost gotten in a couple of fights a couple times because of it, especially when I'm with my mom. And then my dad's told me about some things that have happened, especially like in the Oklahoma area. And I'm just like, bro, I'm like, dude, if I was there, I would have snapped the dude's arm off and slapped him with it. Like, it's just people are just stupid, bro. I don't know, man. Like, listen to someone's story before you start talking mess.
Yeah, there's this thing. My dad actually taught me when I was younger. We've talked about this before. My dad was really involved in my dad was in landscaping business pretty much his whole life. And with landscaping business comes a lot of illegal immigrants, right? A lot of Mexicans from Mexico. And it's not a secret. I think we also do this weird delusional thing where we try to act like they're not illegal and we're not helping them with that fact. You know what I'm saying? It's because that means you're not empathizing with them, and you also aren't understanding where they came from, right? But my dad taught me from a very young age. So I don't understand what it's like to be Mexican, right? Like you do. You understand what it's like to be Mexican, first generation American, but I do know how to interact with people with your background. And I know how to like not just treat them, but like, how to like, I understand that I don't know your way of life, right? Like I know enough to know that I don't know shit. I mean, I know about it, but I don't know what it's like to live that. So my dad said this one thing to me that I will always remember. I think he's probably said it a couple of times, but I remember the first time he told this to me, I was in like 3rd or 4th grade. I was really young. He said, don't confuse uneducation or like not education with unintelligent. Don't confuse education with intelligence. And then Elon Musk has said, a couple of times similar things. And I think we do this thing where we see somebody who's not educated in English and we write it off as unintelligent. And we catch ourselves doing that. There's this really unique kind of what happened when, I believe it was Haiti. We had all these immigrants come from Haiti like a long time ago, specifically to New York. And they had free housing. They had nowhere to live. And they've never seen toilets. They have never seen carpeted floors. They have never seen all this stuff. So these landlords were absolutely livid because their apartments were getting destroyed. Because what was happening was these people from Haiti, they've never had not dirt floors. So they were watering their carpets because that's what they did in Haiti. They were lighting fires in the middle of their living room because they didn't ever know how to use a stove. So they were cooking food an open flame in a living room because no one taught them how to use an oven. There was no YouTube back then, or even if there was, they wouldn't know how to watch an English YouTube video. Yeah, like they didn't know these things, and people wrote off all these stupid immigrants. No, they're not stupid. They have a completely different way of life because if you were dropped off in Haiti, you would die in a week. Fact. You know what I'm saying? Like you would not know how to survive, and it takes the locals bringing you under their wing to bring them along. And I think that's what we need to do a better job in this country. And like, I am not for open borders, right? Just a stance. But I'm also not for like completely degrading people who are already here. There's got to be this thing like, do it, but at least pretend to hide it. Right. And so like, but like you're here, like I'm not like you're here already. So I might as well, my dad had multiple stories of like, he would hire people. He knew that they were illegal, but his legal obligation was to make sure that they had some sort of documentation. He's not some computer whiz and can look up social security numbers. And so he would get a call from, I don't know, some immigration office or something. He would get a call from, hi, you have a William DeBard or whoever that works for you. He died in 2005 and he's 105 years old. So that person's not legit. So my dad would have to go to that person. My dad did speak Spanish fluently. And you have to tell him, hey, you can't come back to work unless you have a different social security card. And they would go to wherever, get this, and be back on Monday. You know what I'm saying? Like, and now they were Jared, And I worked in the kitchen. Like when I worked restaurants, there was a guy named Trinidad that worked with me out on the border. But he worked at Chili's on other days of the week, and he was not Trinidad. He was somebody else because he had to get the hours in without getting docked for tax. And so it's just a different kind of life for immigrants and honestly, first-generation Americans too.
Yeah, and it's just like we feel like everyone has to fit into our culture, and I'm like, dude, I don't. That's what makes America great. Honestly, it's a mixture. It's a mixture of cultures. Now, yes, there is specific things that it's like, dude, like. This is the one thing that we all believe, right? Like, it used to be in God we trust and one nation under God and all those things. But it's like that's what makes this so great is that it's like a beautifully blended family. And I'm the same. I'm not up for like open borders. I think there's got to be processes, all these different things. But at the same time, I'm like, it doesn't take much for you not to be an a-hole. Yeah. Because if you're going to be an a-hole, like, what is that going to do?
Yeah.
Oh, congratulations. That made no difference whatsoever, except now you just proved who you really are. You know what I'm saying? So yeah, man, I think just giving everybody an opportunity, giving everybody a chance. Like if they're here, like you don't know why they did what they did to get here to begin with, you know. And everyone says, well, you should, you know, there's a way to go about things. That's what you hear
Yeah.
all the time. And like, well, there's a way to buy toilet paper too, idiot. Whenever coronavirus hits, like,
Coronavirus. Yeah.
I'm like, look at what us Americans did when COVID hit. Like, or look at Black Friday. Look at how ridiculous you act over a sale.
Yeah.
Like, there's a right way to go buy a TV, and no, it's not stampeding another human being.
Yeah.
Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, we pick and choose what we want to critique, and then we don't show up ourselves in those areas. And so that's why, bro, like the Bible says, like, hey, don't cast judgment unless you're ready for it to come back to you twice, like twofold. You know what I'm saying? It's because I'm not going to sit here and like judge someone for where they're at or why they're doing the things that they're doing. Because at the end of the day, like, bro, I don't know what's going on in their life. I don't know what kind of trauma, PTSD, anxiety,
Yeah.
depression, ADD. I don't know what they got going on. They could be bipolar for all we know. They could be dealing with the craziest things in life, and you have no clue.
Yeah.
You are just making a guesstimation, and I just don't like being like that, bro. I give everyone the benefit of the doubt, and if they show you otherwise, then boom, you got now you got your calculations, you got your facts, you can move logically about it. But at the same time, it's like, dude, don't just pop off on people when you have no idea what it is that they're going through or went through.
Yeah. I've actually done an episode of kind of what you're talking about where I think I've done an episode on the podcast. I've talked about it at some point. To me, being American isn't about the borders. It's the attitude. There's an American attitude to me, and that's what makes you an American. I know people, I have served in the military with people who weren't born in America, but they are way more American than 90% of Americans, like born in America, right?
Yeah.
And I'm not saying you have to be true American, you have to be someone who serves, but don't act like because there was a time when we had to earn our freedom. And the sacrifices that people made for this country is what makes the melting pot. And there was a time where America prided itself on the melting pot. And instead of like, I feel like we're getting to this point now where we're like, I don't really like the term African American. I don't really like Mexican American. To me, you're American, period. And you might be black, you might be brown. I genuinely don't care. Part of it is because we've now are starting to blend. Two reasons. One of the main reasons is we're trying to blend this. Like, they're not to sound mean, but there are people who are are black or African American who have never been to Africa, and neither has their recent parent, descendants. They're not even like a near descendant of somebody from Africa. But for someone like you, you're literally from Mexico. Like, you were born in Mexico, so you're a Mexican American. So I think we're starting to like do this weird thing where we're like blending terms, and it's to be politically correct, when in reality we're blurring reality and we're making it harder. And we're people are like, this is like, it's still a rough time to be alive. I'm like, really? The 60s, when black people were still segregated and there was people getting attacked by dogs just so they could vote? Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, women weren't allowed to vote 60 years ago. Like, it wasn't that long ago. Literally less than 100 years ago, or about 100 years ago now, black people were 3/5 of a person. Like 105, 110 years ago, black people were literally 3/5 of a vote, literally. And have this like weird delusion that we're in like some terrible society. I'm like, yeah, go to Australia where everybody's white, but they're all treated like they're black. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's a terrible place to be right now. America, I'm talking about America because I feel like you are a modern example of the American dream. Right? Like, literally, like, if somebody was like, the American dream's not a thing anymore, I'm like, okay, talk to my friend Frankie Ortega. Like, there's nothing, they can't pinpoint anything about you. They can't say white privilege. That's not real anyways, but they can't blame it on you being white. They can't say that's because you were born here. They can't say it's because you had everything handed to you. You know what I'm saying? Like, your parents came here when you were 2. You didn't even become a citizen until 3 years ago. You know what I'm saying? You were literally kind of illegal until like 3 years ago. You know,
I was full blown illegal until I was 18.
Yeah, so you were full blown illegal until you were 18, but somehow you guys managed, and I feel like your success that you're successful now and you're helping people. That's cool. But I think a big takeaway from this, if anything, you're encouraging people and you're coaching people and you're building people up. But also for anybody who's like myself, I'm not divorced. There's people who aren't even married, but they're going to listen to this and they're like, I just want you to realize if you're listening to this, that this whole episode was encouragement, not only for the people, kind of promotes his business a little bit, kind of like get encouragement talking, but it also encourages people to realize that the American dream is still alive and well today. And ultimately, I'm pro-America, right?
Bro, this is what's wild, right? Like, people want to hate on like the American dream and that it's dead, right? And then they hate people for doing it.
They hate people for doing the American dream. You sold out, bro.
Yeah, what a sellout. You got the American dream. Like, come on now, dude. Like, you got people on TikTok popping off every single day, becoming multi-millionaires. Like, there's people that aren't even in America that are living in another country that are fulfilling the American dream.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like, right now it's more feasible and possible than ever. You just have to help something. Find a solution and bring it to the table. But like, just sit there and be like crying and like bitching and moaning about other people that are going after it. It's like, dude, like, I'd like to talk to you because I want to hear what you went through, because you went through a tough time, and you're projecting that on everybody else. And at the end of the day, dude, like, it's more available than it's ever been. Like, you want to make money, you can do anything right now to make money. Anything. You want to get your freedom back? Like, you can get your freedom back. Start a business. Oh, well, it's easy for you to say. Well, it wasn't easy for me to say every single day.
Yeah, you're doing it for free, literally.
I'm like, dude, like that. I was at church this Sunday, bro, and I was like on the front row, like, fighting back tears because Pastor Dustin was talking about how when God gives you a word, like, people judge you because you walk with the word and you can't see it happening. You can't see it being fulfilled. And people are like, bro, you're an idiot. Like, what are you doing? You should be realistic. All these different things, right? Like, I can't tell you everything that I've heard from family to friends to strangers. Like, you get it everywhere, right? And I'm like, dude, all I knew was that I had a word.
Yeah.
That's it. I had a word, and it was from 10 years ago, and I'm seeing it play out now. Like, that doesn't happen unless you have tenacity.
Yeah.
And the American dream, you want to know what it takes to get the American dream? Tenacity.
Yeah.
It takes full-blown tenacity. It takes you saying, I don't care, come hell or high water. If I fail at this, I will find something that I'm not going to fail at. You know what I'm saying? Like, I will go and go and go again and go again and go again, because the fact of the matter is, you got to go clock into a 9 to 5 every single day anyways.
Yeah.
Like,
rent's going to be due.
Might as well go clock into something. And then that way, what happens is now your life isn't left in somebody else's hands. So you don't sit there being a victim and blaming them because they didn't give me a raise. And well, if you don't like the situation that you're in, change it.
Yeah. I think
I'm sorry, change it.
No, don't be sorry. At the end of the day, we need to remember a real American has an inner savage. Like, people came over here on boats 200 years ago with no directions of how to settle a new colony, right? And people don't, I have to remind this to people all the time, 1776, the Declaration of Independence was found, and everybody who signed it was punishable by death because they were committing treason. It wasn't like they were like, yeah, we want our freedom, and then they go watch Netflix. They went to war, like, in their front yard. Imagine waking up to cannons blowing down your door, like, and people in a real military. All you have is a hunting rifle, and let's put it into today's perspective. You are a family of 4 living at home, and you have 1 hunting rifle in the family because your dad hunts. Let's just forget the fact that you have modern amenities, right? And then some Marines dress like how I used to dress, kick down the door and just start lighting you up. That's what they did every day, because at the time they were fighting the world's strongest military to ever face they ruled 90, almost 100% of the known world at that point. And there was a bunch of kids and dads with hunting rifles fighting the world's strongest navy the world's ever known at the time. And we have to remember that we come from a line of people with inner savage. And at some point we got to let loose the inner savage. We have this thing where like men need to be polite and whatever. Like, no, men need to be dangerous, but they have to have it under control, right? I am not a fan. I don't tell people, all right, stay safe. I don't say that to people. I say, stay dangerous. Being dangerous is what keeps you safe. Like Frankie is a bad man because he trains in Muay Thai and Jiu-Jitsu, and he has for a long time. You're a blue belt still in Jiu-Jitsu, a long time blue belt. You're a long time blue belt. For people who don't know about Jiu-Jitsu, they don't just like give those out. All right. Like,
yeah, it's not karate.
Yeah. It's not like when you watch Cobra Kai, although I do love the show Cobra Kai. But like George Washington's known as this noble man, our first president. He was a general. He was a very unsuccessful general during the Revolutionary War. He was a shitty general. And then he made some savage decisions, like on Christmas Day or Christmas Eve. He crossed the frozen that picture that everybody sees of a painting of dudes rowing a boat, and he has his knee up, and he's like with, leading a little mini fleet of these dudes on these little raft boats. That was on Christmas night or Christmas Eve night. And he crossed a frozen river to go slit people's throats while they were sleeping, because he knew that they're like, oh, it's Christmas, so they're not going to be fighting. And he was like, nah, we got to turn this war around. And he literally, what I'm saying? Like, people don't realize the savagery that happened. And I could go on and on about like the wars that have been fought over American soil, how we took the land from Native Americans or whatever. If you look at history, Native Americans fought each other all the time. That's why over any given piece of land, there is multiple tribes that have ruled over that given land, because one tribe was there, another tribe came, slaughtered them, and then they were in charge, and then another tribe. So we just did that, but we did it better. And like literally, like same thing with Texas and in Mexico. Like, it's not just in like the United States, like Russia, Mexico, all of South America. Like, how do you think there's Mexicans in Mexico that speak Spanish from Spain? They came in and they conquered the Aztecs and all those other native Mexicans. How people just don't think about that. But we have inner savage, and Frank, I think you're a prime example of not only the American dream, but having that savage. And that doesn't portray like where you fight people, but I mean, you do to train, but you have that savage of being able to grind. And you have that savage of, I don't care that my family is going through these trials and tribulations because we're from Mexico. My parents don't speak English. I don't care that, it's not woe is me. You never played the victim, or at least you haven't played the victim card. You might have one point been like, oh, woe is me for a little bit, but you got right back up and now you're the victor, right? And I've talked about that before on this podcast, is be a victor, not a victim. And so you're like a prime example of that. So, Frank, tell everybody where they can get in contact with you.
Yeah. So on Instagram for my coaching page, it's Divorced Recovery Coach. And then on TikTok, you can find my personal one. It's Frank_encourages. And then the divorce one is Divorced Coach. So you guys can find me there. And bro, I want to leave everyone with this, okay? Because I love what you just said. And I think that it's something that we need to hear and really embody, is that fear will always deviate you from the greatest things in life. 100%. Fear is a ceiling, or put it this way. Fear is a door that if you open it, there is something incredible on the other side. But most of us, for some reason, we let it cripple us. So we never open the door and we never see what's past that fear. And so whatever it is that anyone who's listening to right now, whatever it is that scares the crap out of you, I just want you to think, instead of what if it fails, think, what if it works out? What if it goes my way? And then try it. And guess what? If you take an L on it, just take it as a lesson. And you'll be more proud of yourself that you actually pushed past the fear and did it. And this is why God told Joshua to be strong and courageous. It's not because he would never be scared. It's because courage is doing what scares you boldly, right? And stepping up and doing it. Jesus himself was scared. That is why he sweated blood.
Yeah.
It's not because he was so excited to go die on a cross.
Yeah.
No, it's okay to be scared, but it is not okay to let fear stop you, because more than likely, if you let fear stop you over and over and over again, you're going to get to a place in your life where you're going to say, how did I end up here? And you're also going to get to a place in your life where you start to blame everything else. But the reality is that I chose to not push past that fear. And once you take accountability for that, that is when you get control again. Because if it's your fault that you didn't do it, guess what? It's your fault that you do it now. And so I just want to leave people with that. Like, you're stronger than you think you are, and you're more courageous than you think you are. You just have to step into it.
That's good, Frank. I think that's going to help some people today. Frankie, I want to thank you so much for taking time out of your busy schedule to be with us, be with me, be with the. I mean, even if nobody listens to this, I feel like I've gotten something from it, right? So, tell everybody again one more time where they can like reach you, or even if they just want to follow you, or just to follow you.
Yeah, no, definitely. Instagram, you can go to Divorced Recovery Coach. And then the TikTok for my coaching page is going to be Divorced Coach. And so you guys can follow me there on those platforms. And I'm super active on them. So,
and those handles are on the screen
feel free
as well.
to send me a message.
Those handles are on the screen as well. They've been on the screen displayed the whole time. So make sure you do that. And I want everybody to give it up for Frankie for joining. All right. Let me switch back to myself real quick. All right, everybody. I want to thank you guys for coming in. I really appreciate you guys. Make sure you hit up Frankie on whatever social media platform you like, but also make sure that you follow the show at JJ's Live Show on Facebook, YouTube, Twitch. I do a lot of updating on Facebook. It's the best way I communicate with everybody. Make sure you rate 5 stars on whatever platform you listen to, on whatever podcast and whatever you're listening to. Make sure you rate 5 stars. And if you like this music that you hear, I'm going to turn up the track just a little bit. If you like this music you hear, this is made by my boy Chase. He was on the podcast last week. Make sure you check out Streamables on Spotify. That's Streamables. That's how it's spelled on Spotify. It's free music. I said that Free. It's free music that you can use on your live streams, on your videos, or whatever you want. He wants you to use it. He made it free for you to use. All you got to do is go to Streamables. There's like a half a dozen albums or something. He just made a new album. So go check it out. Streamables on Spotify. All right, guys. Appreciate you guys coming in. Until next time, peace. Go Buffs.